Part 4, you will hear a university lecture on coral reefs and environmental stress. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Today I want to examine coral reefs not as colourful scenery for tourism, but as living systems that are vulnerable to environmental stress. Coral reefs are built by animals. Each coral colony is made up of many tiny polyps, which are soft-bodied animals related to sea anemones. Reef-building corals make hard skeletons from calcium carbonate. Over long periods, those skeletons accumulate and form the three-dimensional reef structure. That structure provides habitat for fish and many other organisms. It is important to remember that a reef is not a single organism. It is a community built by living corals, older dead framework, algae, sponges, fish, and countless smaller animals using the same physical space. In clear tropical water, food can be limited, so many corals also depend on microscopic algae living inside their tissues. These algae use sunlight to produce energy-rich compounds, and some of that energy supports the coral animal. This close relationship between coral and algae is a form of symbiosis. Bleaching happens when that relationship is disrupted. The main trigger is high water temperature, especially when temperatures remain above normal for an extended period. Under stress, the coral expels or loses many of the algae. Because the algae provide much of the visible color, bleached corals lose much of their color and appear pale or white. Bleaching is not always immediate death. The white appearance is a sign of severe stress, but the animal tissue may still be alive. If conditions improve quickly, some corals can recover, but if stress continues, the coral may starve, become diseased, or die. Local stresses also matter. Runoff and pollution can make reefs weaker before a temperature event occurs, so a reef facing several pressures at once is less likely to recover well. Sediment from land can block sunlight, while nutrients from wastewater may encourage algal growth that competes for space on the reef. Another issue is ocean acidification. As seawater chemistry changes, corals may find it harder to build and maintain their skeletons. In simple terms, acidification can slow coral skeleton growth and reduce the strength of reef structures. This matters because the reef framework is also a coastal barrier. Where the framework becomes weaker, waves can remove pieces faster than living corals replace them. Monitoring is therefore essential. Field divers can record the actual condition of corals, but those observations are expensive and cannot cover every reef each week. NOAA and other agencies use satellite products to track accumulated heat stress around reefs. This does not replace in-water observation, but it helps scientists identify areas where bleaching risk is rising. Scientists then combine those warnings with local reports, photographs, and repeated surveys. The aim is not simply to declare that bleaching has occurred, but to identify where managers may need to reduce other pressures while the reef is under heat stress. Finally, reef recovery depends partly on resilience. A resilient reef is more likely to survive disturbance and regain function afterwards. Resilience can be supported by reducing local pollution, protecting herbivorous fish, and limiting physical damage from poorly managed tourism or coastal construction. These actions cannot remove global warming, but they may give a reef a better chance of surviving repeated stress events while broader climate responses are pursued, and while scientists continue to compare reefs across regions. So coral bleaching is best understood as a warning signal. It tells us that the relationship between the coral animal, its algae, and the surrounding environment has been pushed beyond its normal limits.
That is the end of part 4. You now have some time to check your answers.